of course, is going to work now that I didn't put the right title in. Sure. Yeah. Now it's working.
There you go. There
now
you go.
It's not going yet, but it's, no, we got halfway. All right. Shit.
Yeah. There you do.
It's working. And now we're having a little bit of a technical problem here because I can hear myself and I need to turn the volume down. Shit, this is annoying. And boom. And we're good. All right, here. Okay, what's up, everybody? It's me, Craig Stone. I am here with Mike. He sent me a bunch of questions about stand-up comedy, or he wanted to ask me some questions. So I figured we would just do it live because I'm trying to figure out how to do my live channel. So if I can, I'll just make a guy who's never done live shit before, put him on the spot and figure it out. Thanks for doing it, man. I perused some of the questions. Do you so you've done stand-up once in your life?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you want to do stand-up?
I think. I don't know. Changes every day.
Let me ask you, why do you want to do it? What is the thing?
I don't know. It's mostly because I like saying things that I'm not supposed to say, and it makes me happy when I do it at work and people get all mad about it. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of I like poking the bear a little bit and just kind of seeing what happens.
Cool. I just will tell you this, that when I first, it's a long time ago now, in from high school all through my whole life, it was like I want to do stand up no matter what. It was always there, but a big part of my life I was scared to do it. And so I just kept giving myself excuses not to do it. And I was saying it was fear. I was saying it was those excuses, right? It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was more like, oh, you'll never make money. It's not, you're not going to be good at this. Oh, it's just a hobby thing. And then once I said, no, this is what I'm doing, that's when I kind of was like, all right, like you started taking it seriously. You just kind of have to say it's real and then make it real. So what are your, so you want to get into it? I forgot. You sent me questions. You could just ask me what they are. I didn't write them down.
However you want to do this, man. This is your channel, your thing. You tell me what you want to do and we'll roll.
Yeah. Just go ahead. Just shoot with I'll just try to tell you everything I know. But before I get into telling you everything I know, you have to understand a few things. One, nobody knows who I am. So I can only help you to get to the point that no one will know who you are. But I'm a professional comedian, so I do make a living. I do work as a comedy seller, and I've opened for a lot of guys, and I can headline. You know what I am. I'm also telling people who are out there.
I figured.
Don't listen. If you want to be famous, this won't tell you how to be famous, but it will. I can kind of help you with how to be happy with yourself as a comedian. In general, that's kind of the goal. That's the goal for me in life, was like just to be doing it, make enough money to live. And also be happy with yourself. Not be a fucking hack bullshit, some guy up there hating what he does. Because I love what I do. I love what I do I love stand up and I respect the shit out of it. So that's all I can really tell you.
A couple of times too, and you're fucking hilarious. So it's not like I'm not talking to a schmo, regardless of whatever you said before.
I love the people watching this. People watching this are just like, wait a minute, this is just a guy who's seen him a couple of times. Why would he take this guy's advice? No, but you're one of the Gregs. We know you're a Gregulator. Come on, man.
Gregulator, dude. I don't pick sides. I like them all. I like them all.
Of course.
It's the most Gregulator thing to say, though, is I take all flavors, right?
Yeah. So, dude, what's your let's get into it, man. What was your first question?
All right, so the first thing I had written down is mostly about writing. So I have ideas. I get the ideas. I write them down in my little, notes thing. Yeah. When it comes to actually writing stuff down, it's just a fucking disaster for me. I just sit there, I type, it comes out, but it's just it's the ramblings of like a crazy person.
Sure.
And it just comes out very, like a SAT answer, like very formulaic, whatever. I do not know. Like I've never written in my life.
Sure.
Outside of school. So how do you do that? How's that all work?
Like writing process stuff, essentially. Like what's my writing process, which I think everyone has their own. I've had a million different processes over my career. For essentially, it changes to however I'm kind of feeling that month. But what essentially works for me. Now, you have to also understand too, this works for me and my style. The one thing I always feel weird about giving anybody comedy advice is that I'm going to tell you what will bring you on the road that will make you me, and I already exist. So you don't want to follow too close to the other people because then you'll never be yourself.
Yeah.
So essentially, the first rule of writing is whatever works for you that allows you to get it done, that allows you to get the work done, right? I used to look at Anthony DeVito. He'd be sitting, typing in a computer, and I can't do that, right? But then I would try to do it, and I wouldn't write as much because that's not how I work. So what eventually became my process is anything that comes to my head, any weird thing at all, doesn't have to be a full joke, just anything. Yeah, I write in my phone, right? It'll be like, fucking, I don't know, women are weird, or whatever, and then you go, oh, all right. So then I go, women are weird, or I don't want to say that's very general, but like,
I know what you mean.
A better idea is that, like, for me, I was working, the last joke I was writing on was that like suicide should be a good thing. Like, like you're choosing when to go out. Like, I think that people should have the power to choose when they were out. That's not a joke, but that was the idea, right? I was like, there's something about suicide that makes me feel like, oh, I want to choose when to die. Now, just saying that, people will go, you can't talk about that, right? So that's just the idea, right?
Yeah.
Then I put the idea in, then I take the idea, then I sit at a computer, and then I hack at it, right? And I'll write down suicide is a good idea, or whatever, and then underneath that, I go 15 things. I need 15 things about that are funny or weird or a thing. 15, they don't have to be good. They just have to be 15, right? So I just write 15 and be okay with them, most of them being bullshit. Now I say 15 because 10 is usually enough, but 5 is 5 past the amount that was enough. That's when you really start digging for myself, right? So I'll write down the thing, then 15 ideas underneath it. Then I let it sit. Then I usually get in a shower or I'll go for a run. This isn't directly after each other, but I got to get it working in the back of the head. The front of the head is too stressed out. The front of the head is being like, that's not funny enough. You're not funny enough. You suck. That's not going to be good. So I write down the 15 things, then I'll get in the shower and I'll do whatever. And then all of a sudden they'll start coming in. I have a notepad in my shower. It's like a wet notepad. So I can write down more ideas that come. Because what I found out was that all of my jokes were coming in the shower.
Dude, so constant, everything I've written down is either a shower or at the gym. Literally anything I've ever written.
So like I said, if it's working, use it, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I start doing. I get to let the ideas come in the shower or when I go for a run, right? Then I'll take those ideas and the ones I think are the best, and I bullet point them. Now this is specific to my style because I'm not I like to call like the math comedians, or I'm not a word for word guy. I'm not one of those guys who needs to use. I'm not Gary Gulman. I don't use perfect words. I'm more of a guy who I'm the fun guy at a party, right? The fun guy at a party doesn't talk like, I can't even come up with funny big words. It just would sound unnatural. So
no, I know what you mean.
So I write the bullet points down. Then I text Anthony and I go, hey, dude, is this funny? Right? And he always writes back, yeah, that's hilarious. And then because he knows that's what I need, I just need him to support this. Then it gives me a little bit of confidence. Sometimes he'll come up with ideas like, hey, what about this angle? And I go, oh, right. Or he'll say, that doesn't make sense. And I go, okay, I'm not expressing that. Then I take those bullet points and then I go to an open mic or I go to a show and I just try to remember the way my brain works is I have such a bad memory that only the things that I think are funny will I remember. Right.
Yes.
So it's literally editing. It's literally editing on the fly for me. Cause it's like, oh, only the things you love the most are the things you're going to remember. I try it on stage, record it, listen to it, then go back to the other notes, see what I missed, see what I forgot. And then just look at the crowd. Right. So like this suicide thing, the crowd's going to look at me. I've tried it a few times. The crowd looked at me like, yo, why are you promoting suicide? And I'm like, oh, you think I'm promoting suicide. So now I need to take that joke and push it away from promoting suicide into the idea I'm actually trying to push. Right.
Yeah.
So so that's how that is my writing process. If that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. I mean, like I said, the one time I went up, I had a notebook where I wrote down like verbatim, words for word, because I couldn't remember anything in between.
Yeah.
It was just like, I know the premise, I know the punch. Getting from A to B was impossible for me. I had to have everything just written out for me to get there. And those I had written for like way, way too long. And I had gotten a solid 3.5 jokes out of it all.
Yeah.
But I had been doing what Anthony did, just literally sitting at a computer trying to type everything out, just go from thought to end. But I mean, the bullet points, that's a really good idea. I'm 100% going to try that.
Well, some people can do. So there's a few things I need to just say to you about this right now to get out of the way. Is one of those things is you've only done stand-up once.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing at all.
You need to get on stage as much as possible. And I know you know this, but like I'm just saying it. Like where I also say is that when I first did stand-up, I bombed really bad. I took off from stand-up for like a year or two. And what I was doing for that year was karaoke. I don't know if you've ever heard this. Yeah, I was doing karaoke every day for like 2 years. And I can't tell people how important that was, like, because it was stage presence. You need to work on stage presence. You need to stand up. When you first get on stage, you feel, I like to call it the heat, where you just feel like it's the heat is on you. When I perform now, there's no heat. I just walk on and I talk, right? So you need to be doing stand up so much that the heat goes away, because when the heat goes away, that allows you to be in the moment and to kind of remember and think on stage. When I first started, I couldn't think on stage. I couldn't read. I would write set lists and I'd look at them and I'm like, I can't read. Like, I cannot read on stage. My brain was firing too fast. Yeah. But now I can walk on stage and read. I don't care. Nothing. It doesn't matter anymore. So I sort of I was doing karaoke. So like get stage presence, do all the mics you can, but also be in front of people as much as you can, just so you can get used to that, and you can start working yourself in the pocket. To that also, I know I'm blabbing a lot, but hey, you're asking me a question. Why am I yelling at you? Why am I yelling at me for you? I don't know.
No, you keep going. I'm soaking everything in.
Is this recording? Oh, it is. Yeah. And it's live. Okay, I think we're okay. It's not a fucking Greg cast if I'm not questioning whether the thing is
I was about to say, I can't, never have I ever heard you speak without those words come out of your mouth.
Yeah. So what the hell was I talking about? Does anyone have any idea? Oh boy.
Being on stage, getting past the heat, getting up as much as possible, karaoke for like 2 years or whatever.
Yeah. I think stage presence is huge, man, because the way I look at karaoke and why I recommend that is because the act of karaoke has nothing to do with writing, right?
Yeah.
It has only to do with performance. It has only to do with knowing the way your voice sounds, knowing where the mic should be, where you're comfortable. It just kind of slows the heat down. Things so precious, and you don't have to worry if your jokes are good, right? You just have to worry about nailing Neil Diamond, and once you get comfortable there, then it's like your comedy will start to get better. And one other thing about the karaoke thing, this is a point. Oh, I don't remember. Maybe I'll come back to it. But it was just kind of about
that's fine.
The heat. I don't remember what the heat is a powerful tool as well, because it's firing all your fucking. It's adrenaline. It's firing it, right? So a lot of people interpret the heat as fear, and some of it interpret it as excitement. You have to look at it, and as soon as you go, I'm nervous, say to yourself, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. This is exciting. But because it's the exact same feeling in your head. It's just what you do with it when it gets there. Like the file comes to your desk, and you can either say this is excitement or this is fear. Say it's excitement, and then you'll become addicted to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I played sports my whole life. It's the same basic thing, playing like soccer. When you get the tingles, whatever, when you're going towards goal, it's not necessarily fear. It's just anticipation, learning to use the adrenaline for you. That part I completely get. That makes a lot of sense.
I've never played a sport in my life, and I never will. But
okay.
Cool. Does that answer that question for you? I hope that helps.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just, like I said, trying to figure out how to flesh out ideas, because I think part of the problem right now is so much advice is out there, and I'm so everything's so connected that I can get little bits and pieces all over the place, and so you end up getting too much, and I think I know too much too soon. Whereas if I just didn't think of anything and I was just like, I don't know, fuck it, I'm gonna go try it. You go in, do it, you don't know what you're doing. Whereas I'm coming at it from a position where I've essentially read textbooks because of all the podcasts and whatever.
Yeah.
Where you end up coming in it with too much in your head without actually knowing how it works. So I can hear people talk about journaling, whatever, but I'm like, I don't know what the hell that means.
Dude, the biggest problem I had with my stand-up was, and I think other people have said this, but I definitely have said it to myself, which I was funnier before I started stand-up. My entire career in comedy was getting me back to being as funny as I was before I did stand-up. And it's literally because, like, you start reading into things. You start, am I hacky? Am I not? Am I doing this? Why do I sound like that? It's like, dude, just if you're, and it's so simple too. If you're having fun, it doesn't matter if you're a great joke writer or a bad joke writer, and people see you having fun, they're going to have fun. Comedy was, this guy, Steven Rosenfeld, told me this. Stand up is joyous communication. And it's so fucking true. If you get a guy up there who's never done stand up before, he just walks on stage and he's like, I'm sucking a dick. Who's this fucking guy? And he's just blasting. Dude, when I first started, I'd say the first year of stand-up for me, I was destroying like I never destroyed before, because I was just going up being like, I'll suck a dick, I'll eat it. Like, that's just what I was doing. And then that went away. The excitement started to go down. And now I had to learn how to recreate that and get myself to be able to be excited every time I go on stage. And I will tell you that the one thing I say before I go on stage, every time before I go on stage, if there's, unless I'm just like having a good time, or not like having a good time, but like if I want to have a good set, I always say to myself, I can't wait to tell these people this story. Because when I say that to myself, I used to go to parties and I'm like, oh, my friend Mike's going to be there, right? I'm like, oh, Mike, I got to fucking tell him about, I fucking saw a hooker yesterday. And that puts me in the zone that Greg Stone needs to perform in. So before I go on stage, I just say to myself, I can't wait to tell these fucking people this story. And then that pushes my energy. And then it gets me to where I think I need to be when I'm performing on stage.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Makes sense.
Next question, Michael.
All right. Michael X. That actually sounds like Professor X. It's the one superhero reference I can give you. I don't know anything about that. So what you said actually kind of tied in good with a different one that I had written down. So the one that I have done, it was a bringer show, so I had a bunch of friends there, so they recorded it, they gave it to me, I've listened it back.
Mm-hmm.
I only hear other comedians I like saying my words. So it's like very clear that I have taken different like cadences, tonalities, stuff like that. It drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And so like listening to it is painful to me, not because it's like I don't like the jokes, but it's just like hearing me unintentionally rip is like that. It drives me up a wall.
I'm gonna tell you this: you're a day in.
Yeah.
Who cares? I honestly say, like, I know you care and you should care, but you're not gonna be you yet. You know what I mean? I would honestly say it's like, I mean, I have it, I'll tell you about who I had for a little bit. When I first started doing comedy, dude, I was doing Ben Bailey. I loved Ben Bailey from Cash Cab, which a lot of people don't know. He was one of my favorite comedians, but I would walk on stage and be like, how's everyone doing? I'm Greg Stone. And people would be like, what the fuck? But thank God no one knew who, only like comedy fans kind of knew Ben. This is before Cash Cab. It's okay. What will happen, I think every comic does a base of like, you're just ripping other people. Dude, Hannibal Buress, when I first started seeing him was Mitch Hedberg. Same with Dimitri Martin. They're not them now. Hannibal Buress is the furthest thing from fucking Mitch Hedberg you'll ever see. But when you kind of, in the beginning, you kind of do that a little bit. And that's okay. That gets your base. That gets you how to write jokes, right? Then you have that base cake. And then you got to start putting the whipped cream on, and the whipped cream becomes you. And then it's a second layer. And then all of a sudden, no one sees the guy. No one sees your guys anymore. I get Louis. I get Louis a lot sometimes. And I never knew. I would ask Anthony, I'm like, dude, do I sound like Louis? And he always says to me, he's always like, sometimes, but you've always been like Louis. He used to say, like, when we first started saying Louis C.K., he was like, this guy has similar cadences to Greg. It's very weird. And so I don't know what came first, if I was ripping him off or if I just liked him because he reminded me of myself.
Right.
But when I do hear it, sometimes I'm doing an act, or sometimes you say it, like, hey, this fucking guy. And you're like, that's Bill Burr. I just said Bill, like I just did a Bill Burr voice. And I think in my point, where I'm at in comedy, it's like, when that hits, I have to make sure that I'm not doing that because I don't want fans to see it. I don't want other things, but also I don't stress about it because it's like, you know, you can only make the people laugh, and you got to be yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be myself, but I think yourself comes from building that deep layer of the work and all the things, and then going that extra step and that extra jump is like, that's when I come out. And I think I found my voice the most from doing the Rad Dudecast because we're so fast. Not that we're like, we're so fast, bro. We're so fast. We're like, it's such a fast moving podcast that you don't get a lot of time to check what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you're kind of not reacting like anyone, but you're just being like, this is a crazy thing. And it's like, oh, that's the most you because it's gun to your head, you know? And so a lot of that kind of comes out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense.
I don't even know if I answered your question. I may have just said
I didn't even really ask a question. I just made a statement and
like, how do you not sound like other people?
I mean, that's really what it comes down to because it's just, I don't know. Like there's certain jokes where I can hear all three of you without a doubt. And then a couple other ones where it's just like, not necessarily, again, not that it's wrong, right, whatever. It's just like a tick in my head that I'm just like, again, it goes back to the thing that's like, I think I know too much too soon where it's like, I want to move past that. Like, I know that I need to move past that eventually. So I'm like, now let's go next step. And
I'm going to say this, man, especially with the beginning of stand-up, dude, enjoy it. And I like to say this, especially to you're so new that I can say this and it's not insulting because it's like, whatever. But I knew a lot of new guys who they want a lot so quick that it's like, you don't deserve it because a lot of people put their 10, 15 years in and that's earned. Like being able to be fast on stage comes from countless stage time, right? So like you will get there. Andy Dufresne, time and pressure, you know what I mean? You will get there. But when you're there, you're going to lose something. And the thing you've lost is time. And you're going to miss that time. You're going to look back and be like, fuck, I remember, you know, like when I was just going to open mics, getting drunk and sucking on titties, you know, like I don't do that. You know, like I'm married, I don't do that shit anymore. But like, so the time you have now is just as special as the time you're going to have when you're a killer comic later. It's just two different things. So like, enjoy the time you're having now. Enjoy the friends you're making right now in the beginning of stand-up. What I love about stand-up is it's an adventure into finding who you are, because the only way to be successful is to be your true self. So you're about to do this deep dive into who you are, and that is an insane journey. And so you really need to enjoy it and don't rush it. Don't rush the fucking, and I'm not saying, you know, take all the shots you can. If someone walks up to you and like, I had a friend who was in My Chemical Romance, and he said to me when I first started, he goes, "Hey, I know the bookers at Conan. I can do everything I can to get you on that show." And I was like, I'm not ready. I want to earn it myself. Guess who 15 years later has still never done Conan? Yeah, the bookers he knew is gone. So it's like, man, like maybe I should have taken that fucking shot and failed and then moved on from it. Like quitting was never an option for stand-up. So, you know, like if you get shots, take them, but like also don't think that right now sucks, man. I made $8,000 a year for a bunch of years, you know, and those were some of the best times of my life. So like, this is a great adventure, and everything will come with time and pressure. You will survive whatever. You don't know where you'll be. You know what I mean? Did I think that I would be the star of the number one slut-shaming podcast in America? No, of course not. I thought I was going to be Will Ferrell or whatever. So I don't know. That's just kind of silly. Oh, also, the thing with not earning it is like, I know a lot of comics who all they want to do is get 1 million hits, and because they're looking for validation from views or credits or fame. I can tell you as a guy who has not had, I've never had a late night, I've never been Netflix, never done HBO, but I think a lot of New York comics look at me and they go, that guy's a funny fucking guy. You know, like I think I'm respected among friends and peers. I don't know. I hope to God I am, but I don't know why I'm spiraling. But those things, once I got it in my head that those things might never come, my career started, I started becoming the best comic I'd ever been, because it was like the only thing I can control is me on stage, and that's my time where I love it. And you see so many I'm talking so fast, but I know so many comedians who every time they get on stage is just working towards the hour, but they're not being on that stage. They're not being with that crowd. And that's never who I want to be. I want every time I'm on stage is for those fucking people there, because this is the thing I love the most. And no Netflix or viral video will ever make that, will solidify that. That is solidified with trying to make, I don't know what it's solidified with. It's, I'm never going to quit. That's what it is. So anyway, I hope I don't sound pretentious.
No,
you asked me to do this. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
why am I spiraling?
I don't know.
Yeah,
you don't believe me. You don't need to say anything to me. I know, like, I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to soak up as much information as I can. The thing is, it's like, for pretty much anything else, there's a pretty there's an easy way to find kind of like a tutorial or whatever, but this is just kind of a go, just do it and see what happens. And that's honestly, more than anything, my biggest not necessarily fear or problem, but like the biggest stumbling block for me is that I can't go and just be like, oh, this is how you do that move to get past that guy. This is how you know what I mean? Like,
no. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Like, okay, so like, we're gonna go back to sports. So like, playing soccer.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to learn how to beat,
I love that you think,
guy,
all the action figures in the back. I'm going to get this sports reference, but give it a shot.
I can't. Okay, so we can do like video games.
Do the sports thing. I'll follow you. I was just being an asshole.
No, I know, but like you got to learn a move. Like even in so like video games, you want to beat the last boss, you need to learn the move, how to do that. You can go on YouTube. Type in the game, say, how do you beat this boss? And it says, oh, you need to learn how to do, X, Y, Z, and that'll allow you to catapult to this next thing, and then you can defeat the boss. You're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I just didn't know that before. Whereas with this, that's not really a thing. There is there's no guide, there's no nothing. It's just you learn yourself, you go up, you do it. And that's something that I've never had in my life. It's always been something that you can just kind of learn from. You have a coach, you have a whatever to go through.
So to exactly what video games are, and I know everyone's always said this with stand-up, but to video games, the only way to beat the boss is to die a bunch of times, right? You see the boss comes out and he hits you with the axe and you go, okay, it's axe, then jump back, then hit him, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The only way you succeed at stand-up is by bombing, right? The only way you get those tools is by bombing. And so like people say bombing is the worst, but it's like, that sucks, but it's also the only way to learn how to beat the boss,
Yeah.
So, you're not going to get from a YouTube video how to different stand-up moves essentially. And if you do, then you're just doing the person that did that move. And that's not what this is about, right? This is about you. This is about you being the most you can be. So stand-up, so I guess it's like that's the problem with stand-up comedy classes, and even the problem with me on this video telling anybody how to do anything is that you will then just become me, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing that when it all comes down to it, you have to throw everything everyone else said in the garbage, and you have to say, I'm gonna have a good time, and I'm gonna let these people see what is great about me. Now, there is an easier way, right? You could just develop a persona and then do that persona, right? And there's some like give and take with that, right? So like the difference between developing a persona and then committing to a life of that persona, right? So let's take Larry the Cable Guy, who's a great guy and he's super funny. You know what I'm saying? You can just say, hey, I'm going to be Larry the Cable Guy and do that and then commit to that. But what I found out with myself was I wanted to be the most myself. But the fucking thing I learned was myself wasn't even fully developed. So then it was like, oh, you need to develop the persona, but the persona is who you want to be, right? So what do I want? Like, Greg, who is Greg on the inside? There is no Greg on the inside. There's blood and guts on the inside.
Right.
Who is Greg? Who does Greg want to be? Well, then go be that. You know what I mean? I don't, this is like, wait, this is nothing to do with, this has nothing to do with stand-up anymore.
This is just turning into a session.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, but that is right. So like, if my favorite thing is, if you look at rock stars, look at their faces. A lot of them are butt ugly people, but they put on like, look at Tom Petty. In my opinion, not a good-looking guy, but he puts on the coat. It fools us, and we go, Tom Petty is leather jacket, and it's like, no, he looked at that leather jacket and said, I want to wear that, and then it became him, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of this persona stuff is, what do you want to be? Well, then be it. Fucking be it. You know what I mean? And then, but don't be a fraud. Don't be like, oh, I'm the nice guy, and then all of a sudden you're fucking not this. You know, you're a piece of shit, son of bitching around town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know how this is going. I mean, like, this is crazy, but I hope these are helping. I don't know.
As far as I'm concerned, this is wonderful. I mean, like I said, half of it is just semi-validating the fact that I'm not crazy when I'm thinking about these things, and it's like I am at least conceptually going along the right paths, and I'm kind of working through the things that I'm supposed to be working through. That's mostly what it is at this point. Because again, like I said, I've done it the one time. I want to do it again. It's just working up that courage to do it again. But what I needed more than anything is just like, okay, you're not a mental patient thinking about this. You are kind of like, these are the correct things, the normal things to be thinking about.
Make little goals. The only goal you should have for now is to be having a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just go on stage and have a good time. That's the only goal you need to have, right? And then when you start having a good time, then start going, all right, am I putting substance into this, right? Start adding, start sneaking in. Also, write every single thing that you ever thought was funny. Write it down, never throw it away, because there's going to be a ton of shit right now that could be great jokes, but you don't have the skill level to do it yet. You just don't have the ability to do it. So dude, I'm doing a bit now. I'm not doing any bits now. It's Corona. We're fucking dead. But I recently had a bit that like, oh, I wrote this my first year in stand-up, but I'm doing a lot of religion stuff now. And a lot of that stuff I wrote years ago, but just didn't have the ability to do it because it was like, I wasn't skilled. So just write all that shit down and keep it and have a good time now. Doesn't fucking matter if you're good, just because you're not supposed to be good. Just joyous communication for the first fucking year, you know, just, and if whatever you enjoy the most doing on stage, just keep doing that. And that will be eventually what it's the path of least resistance. And that's what I think makes comedy the easiest.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense.
Cool. And what's your next one? I saw you had 4 questions. We can do that, and then we'll suck the dick off this thing.
All right, you got it. All right. Let's see. Okay, so actually, you just kind of went on that one. So when I write things down, at the time, 99% of the time when I write something down, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. Like, this is a great thought. If I let that sit for a day, 2 days, I go back, look at it, and I read it, I think this is the stupidest thing I've ever written in my life. I can never speak this out loud to a person. How do you toe the line between deciding this is me second guessing myself and it is actually funny, it is worth pursuing, and then, or on the opposite side, looking at it, be like, oh no, this was ridiculous. I don't know why I wrote this. We save it for another time, whatever, go back to it down the road.
Cool. So I have a theory about comedy, which is that if you're a comedian, or you're a funny person, or if you're any person really, actually, yes, any person, if you think something is funny, it is funny. Now, it's funny here, right?
Right.
It's got to be funny here. But from here to here, this whole part of your body, you need to express to people what you see, why you see that as funny, right? Because like, if you just fart and someone laughs, right? Okay, it might be easy or some shit, right? But the truth is, it's like, you may have the history of, well, my dad used to fart growing up and that always made me laugh, so there's all this shit. Now, a lot of that stuff you can't convey to an audience. It's just too much there. So there, people may never see why you see a thing as funny, but if you think it's funny, it is funny. But now you have, your job is to express to a crowd why you view that, right? Coming back to the suicide joke, right? Of like, it's crazy to me that it's like,
yeah,
like we hate suicide, but I want to choose when I go out, right? I think that's an idea, right? So like I need to express to people now what do I see, right? I'm a guy who worked in an ER. I saw what happens when people die at the end. That is not a fun way to go. What a fun way to go is nosediving off the top of the Empire State Building in a bird costume, right? Then people go, yo, this big ass bird died, and you go, oh no, that's Greg, like that, like those are, I might have to write that down. I think that's kind of funny, even though no one laughed.
No one laughed.
No one laughed. No, just kidding.
Oh yeah.
No, but like, so if you think it is funny, it is. You just need to express, and you just show the audience on why that's funny, and that's your job, is to put people in your brain so they can, being John Malkovich, you want to show them through your lens of what it is and why that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, so what's funny to me is what you just said. You're trying to like work through how that goes. I've been, for as long as I can remember, saying something almost very similar to my friends, because I've got food allergies, and I've been joking pretty much my whole life that I'm just going to get to an age, I'm going to get on my deathbed, order everything I'm allergic to, and just eat myself to death. And just like, that's how I'm going out. But that's, to your point, is like, yeah, that's going to resonate with the audience. You just, once you figure out your way of explaining that.
Yeah, I have two rules for comedy, and this is my only two rules, which is be original and be funny. That's all you have to be. You have to be original, because thieves are the worst, because you're just stepping on the backs of people who worked harder before them, and be original, because original is what makes you not the guy in the crowd, right? So any weird shit that you think is crazy is like, fucking do it, man. As long as it's an original thought, and as long as you can make it funny, if you can make people laugh, that's really all it takes to be a comedian. Yeah. And now I saw your last one, and then we'll call it a day. What was your last question? It was about
I'm trying to remember.
It was about the business.
Okay. Yeah.
Something about the business, which I thought was like a really good.
So across the board, almost every podcast, YouTube, whatever I listen to with comedians constantly, and I don't know if this is self-deprecation. I don't know if this is just like a comfortable tick, but it is constantly like, oh, the business sucks. I can't get anywhere. Essentially saying like, I wish I could quit. Whatever. And so it's just like, how much of that is genuine and like someone like voicing like, no, this is like genuinely driving me crazy, or is it just like voicing frustrations, hyperbolic, whatever, just kind of saying it?
Yeah, well, comedy is a funny thing, because comedy is run by people who aren't comedians.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it works. That's how it needs to work, right? Because if it was just comedians, every fucking wild thing that we thought would be on TV, and normal people wouldn't be like, this doesn't make any sense. Like we would just be yes-anding bullshit. I don't know. I'm not a big business guy. Hence why no one watching this video knows who I am, right? I don't love the business. But in comedy, the big thing you have to do is you have to surround yourself with comedians and people that put you over, that make you look good and feel good. Like when I first got to comedy, we were freshmen, and the sophomore class, it was a bunch of dicks. It's a bunch of people being shitty to other people. And I was with Anthony, my best friend since high school, and we were both doing stand-up together. And I remember seeing them and going, oh, I need to be with those guys. Those are the next guys up. We need to hang, And then I would just see them being pieces of shit. And I went, yeah, I don't want to be with those guys. I don't want anything to do with those people. So I surrounded myself with, when I first started, it was me, Anthony DeVito, Doug Smith, Matt Wayne, this guy Ron Krasnow, too many to mention. This girl Jess Watkins. We just a bunch of like people who were really sweet people, and we had similar, like, we weren't going to be mean to each other. And so you surround yourself with those guys, and when you have laughers around you, they make you feel better, right?
Yeah.
So then surround yourself with people that you can work with, and people that are going to put you over, right? But then the business, the industry shit, the industry is looking for, dude, you can always see the waves, right? It's so funny to me, right? When Zach Galifianakis blew, I just saw a billion fat comics with beards who were like, we're taking anybody with a beard. You know what I mean? Like right now it's, the trend is like, diversity, right? They're like, give me anything that's diverse. And they try to pretend it's like, look, sure, diversity is great. But a lot of times it's kind of just like, oh, you're still just following everything you've ever followed, which was what can make us money right now, right? So unless you are within that wave, this business has nothing to, like this business has nothing to do with you, right? This business to me is podcasting, stand-up, I have to make your own way, right? So
right.
If the people are like, oh, the business isn't giving me anything. Oh, what? YouTube won't let me put something on? Like, no, you can find your own way. You find your own path, but you have to just keep the poisonous people around you. I mean, away from you. And please do not listen to me about business stuff. It's the one thing, and it's the one thing I am so bad at. I'm not good at kissing ass. And then the people I love, I tell them I love them too much, so then they think I'm kissing their ass. So it's like, I'm not really good at that part, and I'm not good at like getting in people's faces. Any booker I've ever done well with is because I've genuinely loved them. I've like, I genuinely love this person, and then they give me all the work because I like being around them. But people I don't like, it's like, dude, I had bookers who've called me the N-word. Just calls this guy texts me the N-word and calls me, I'm like, why are you texting me the N-word? He's just, it's like, so I don't really, but the minute I had to not work his club, the minute I got myself into a point in my career where I don't need to go back to that guy's club, I stopped answering his texts. Just like, so now I just work with the people who treat me right. Anyway, that's this is a horrible way to end because I'm not good at business.
You're fine.
But hey, man, I hope you found this beneficial.
100%.
I would say write yourself some goals, write them down, and beat those goals. Very little goals. Stand up 3 times in the next month, after COVID, and then when you beat 3, do it 5, and then just keep, if you feel that you need to do it, do it. And if you feel like you hate it, don't do it. But that's like all of life, right?
Yeah.
Hey, also, I know what your secret job is, and you're doing, you're a goddamn hero. So thanks.
No. I haven't told you enough about the secret job if you're saying that, because could not be further from the truth.
Fair enough. We don't need to get into it. But anyway, you're a really nice guy. We met in DC. We had great time. You're always really nice, so I appreciate that shit. I hope this was beneficial for you. Do you have any plugs?
Never probably. Come find me at some point in the future when we're not all dying of a virus. I don't know. Literally, I don't even know where to go in the city. There's one place I went and he won't answer my email. So probably who knows?
Dude, thank you so much for doing this. I hope it was beneficial. I'll talk to you later.
Super beneficial. Absolutely.
Okay. Cool, dude.
Alrighty.
See you later. Bye.